if it is the case that historically the majority of available jobs were physical in nature.
That's not true.
Anymore.
Really?
Doctors.
How many doctors are there?
Shoemakers, clothing makers.
I would argue that even like a shoemaker requires like muscular strength in the arms and dexterity and.
No, but back then.
I'm not an expert in like what is the called when you're there's a specific term when you're a shoemaker like a what's it called? Cobbler. Like there's probably some level of physicality even involved in that. In any case, if it is the case that the majority of jobs historically did require some degree of physical strength, this would seem to, and if it's also the case that men are just generally physically stronger than women, is it any surprise that men were more likely to occupy these positions?
It was purely because of the way society was set up. Because if women were taught to grow strong from a young age and fight to work jobs, they could have easily worked those jobs. And I get that men are stronger physically. However, if a woman really tried, she could get as strong as a man in that capacity.
You sure?
Yeah, I'm positive.
So wait, just let me ask you this then. If we were to look at the strongest, so the strongest man and the strongest woman to have ever existed,
right?
Or how about alive today? You would say that their strength is equal.
I mean, I don't know the strongest man or the strongest woman, so I'm not sure.
Subjective.
However,
it's objective. It's literally objective.
However,
here's 500 pounds. Can you lift it? Go ahead.
However, in the olden days, what we're talking about.
Tell me the olden days, yeah.
There's no gyms. There's just work. There's just birth and work.
I agree.
If a woman was taught to plow fields with her brother and do all that shit with her brother, the same time, same exact teaching styles, she could do the same thing.
So what do you do when you're plowing a field?
I don't know. I never plowed a field.
Are you lifting things with your upper body strength?
I've never plowed a field.
You should plow a field.
Stonework, cobbling work.
Tractor.
No, I don't lift. I run.
You're tall.
Because I don't feel like lifting.
You seem strong.
I don't want to be strong.
I think you could do well.
Yoga.
I probably could if I really wanted to.
You would kill it, Maren.
Thank you.
You would kill it in the fields.
Thank you.
Back to the fields you go. Look, the strongest woman to have ever lived isn't even approaching like...
Well, that's with everything we have today, with the weightlifting and the whatever. And people spend their entire lives dedicated to getting stronger. In the olden days, what we're talking about right now, people did not care. They just wanted to work. And what I was saying is that even though women would be capable to work those jobs, society set them up to not work those jobs on purpose. That's all I'm saying.
Well, it's not just on purpose.
It is on purpose.
There's just a strength component to it that cannot be ignored.
But what I just said.
No, but you're saying, well, if these women, and look, I think that there are women who, if they're really strong, I think they can do the job. My argument is, if you have 100 men and 100 women, and both of them, you put both of them through, well, you're saying
the same training, same everything.
The same training, and they're both like athletic.
Since birth, same food, same everything.
You do all of that, those 100 men are going to be stronger than all of those women.
Well, maybe the women would find out a way to do it without all the strength.
What?
Work smarter, not harder.
Work smarter, not harder.
How? Okay, here's
we make the men
task.
do it.
Yeah.
Here's the task.
Exactly.
Don't say that.
Here's the
Make
task.
them do it.
I'm a dom.
Move this pile of rocks that each weigh 70 pounds from point A to point B.
Right.
Okay. Men, due to their physical strength, are going to be superior at doing this.
But women will come up with like a way to pull it. Or
And so do men. So did men.
I just don't think it's a good use of
But the problem with your
efficiency.
argument is there's no historical value to say that women would not do better because women were never given the chance. That's all I'm saying.
There is a precedence for it.
Women were
due
never
to-
given the chance to
It would-
try.
Hold on. Why?
But
You
why
agree?
it matters so
You
much?
agree it's a given that men are physically stronger.
Okay.
And do you think historically people also just knew men stronger than women?
Because they forced women to not try.
So
Yes, continue.
are you saying that physical strength is a social, like a social structure?
A little bit.
You're saying it's subjective, social, like physical strength. It's not
Muscular
objective.
men are attractive. Muscular women are ugly and manly. That's a whole thing. I've seen that everywhere. Women who weightlift, women who do boxing, they're not seen as attractive because they're muscular.
What does this have to do with like historic?
I'm telling you right now, and that is today's world. In the olden days, a woman had muscle. That's like vile. That's like against the rights of women.
Against the wait, what? Against the rights of women?
Women have
what rights? What? Hold on. What are you talking about?
women
Because
have a
women
way.
were supposed to be weak.
Look pretty. And
Women
and look
are
pretty
weak.
and be tiny.
Wait, say it,
Maybe
go ahead,
you
say
are.
it.
Women are weak.
Maybe you are.
And also, I just don't understand, like, why do you have to make it a social thing?
I'm not weak
Because it's
either.
just not a good user efficiency. If you send women to plow the field, why don't you just take advantage of each other's talents? And maybe women are better doing some other jobs, like maybe sewing.
Like what,
and then
giving
men
birth?
That's why there's
That's not a job. That's a
division
part of
labor.
life.
That's why
You know,
women
picking the cherries,
were behind
you
the
know.
sewing
Yeah,
machine
getting
back
pregnant.
in the old
Everyone
days.
has their own strengths. We're not
Yeah,
trying to
exactly.
diminish men. Men have their strengths, and we have our strengths. We're trying to come together as a society. We don't want to get away from men. We love men. We want men to just treat us equally, and like respect us, and not like
Because
it's not that hard to understand.
the second men say we're stronger, we can do more, is the second they started having
But
all
is it-
political
Why are you guys
rights.
comparing yourselves to
Your
us?
logic that they're stronger. Biologically,
Okay, and
they're
what about it?
stronger.
Is it
But
descriptive?
women
It means that
Hold on.
And what about it?
They're
No, I
stronger
want to
doesn't
hear
mean
what
they
she wants
disrespect
to say
women.
about it.
Say it. Go ahead. Say it.
Men are biologically stronger.
No one said no.
So therefore, they're going to be the ones doing the harder jobs that require more strength. I.e., why women couldn't do the coal mine, the construction, the whatever you say that they didn't get the opportunity to do. It's because they're weaker than men, and that's why they didn't get the opportunity. It's not because society made it this way.
Yeah, also I agree
Okay.
that men having more physical strength doesn't mean they're superior to women. And this is totally outside the topic, because a man who is physically weak can still treat women like shit and can still disrespect them.
But do you realize that, especially in the olden days when strength actually mattered, and even recently, men say that being stronger and working in the olden days makes them better than women? Because I've seen that everywhere.
Nobody's arguing that. Nobody's arguing that.
what it sounds
Look,
like.
Can we agree on this? Descriptively, is it true that men are physically stronger than women?
They can be in some certain
It's not just
aspects.
that it's not just that they can be. It's that they are.
I don't know. I know
You're
a
not
lot
going
of
to grant
weak
that.
No.
I agree with. Yes, there are weak men. I don't dispute that.
If every man and every woman on the entire planet did the exact same nutrition routine, the exact same workout routine, physically, yes,
Yep.
men could be stronger.
would be
Would be stronger.
Okay,
However,
how
that's
do I
not the
prove this?
case.
So if they did studies and showed, like they did this study with
But why
like
does that even
10,000
matter?
women, the grip strength, for example, men have orders of magnitude greater grip strength than
Okay.
women. So if we're looking at upper
grip from
body
something
strength, which is sort of predominated as it relates to physical labor typically, although there's some component of lower body strength, but men are also stronger in their lower bodies.
Okay.
Now, but would you agree that descriptively that's true?
Yeah. Does that mean they deserve more rights than women?
That's not what we're arguing. We're just saying that.
I
as
never
it-
said they weren't stronger.
You seem
though.
to be making the case. You're arguing. Well,
I'm just saying
if the
that-
men and women started out in these jobs
I've
at the same
said
time,
since the beginning, if they started off the same job, same diet,
They
whatever,
wouldn't
men
be-
would be stronger. However, that's not the case because women have never been given the chance to do
but if,
any of that.
okay, sure,
had a
but
head start.
if women were given the chance at the same starting point to start working in these jobs, and through whatever it's swinging a pickaxe or digging with a shovel,
Okay.
I still would argue that even if you had a woman working the same amount of hours as a man, it's not even clear to me if they would have that sort of ability to even work the same length of time as a man in a physical capacity. They would not be able to develop the same level of strength as a man, even if they started at the exact same time.
Okay.
We have
And your
different
point is-
hormonal body, like our body.
You're saying-
I'm wondering what the point
Whatever.
of the
I'm-
strength
It's just
argument
not
even
gonna get
is.
there.
But I think the point of the strength is that it's nothing to do with the men being better than women. It's a scientifically proven.
Yeah, it's a fact.
It's biology, and it's a fact. And because they are stronger, they can do work that we cannot do. And if we do it, we could do it, but we're not going to do it as good as they do it because we don't have the strength that they have. And I would like to mention another thing, with your permission. Back then, it wasn't only that the women were not given the opportunity. I think we all agree that back then, as much as women were not allowed to vote and they were put down in other social, points, back then people were more supporting family. Who would raise those kids? Who would take care of the kids? Another thing, they will also support family and religion. And all that was so close together that the women were at home taking care of the kids, doing the housework, and going to church on Sundays. It was a completely different thing.
How depressed were those women?
It was different. But today, let me finish real quickly. Today, it's completely different. But you know what? I support family 100%, and that's what I was taught. And I am so grateful for that. And to see my parents together until their last day, and to see my mother taking care of me and my sister, I'm grateful to heaven today. And my mother was not discriminated. It was a different level of priorities.
But
that's what I think.
But in general, the difference of priorities, if a woman's priority is to be a homemaker and have a family, which is totally normal for women to want that, like, I'd love that, it'd be great. If that's a woman's priority and the whole society, the whole country, the whole world believes that a woman's priority is to be the homemaker and the family maker, then that counts out the other women who don't want a husband, who don't have a husband, who are gay, who whatever. All of those people, but all of those people who are taught that they have to be a family maker and a homemaker are suddenly left out of the job equation, and that's unfair.
Okay, a couple questions here, and then I've got to move this on.
Perfect.
Oh, yes.
If I could show you, for example, if we are looking at the apex of both men and women. So, for example, the U.S. women's soccer team got completely destroyed by like a under 18 boys team.
Okay.